Good evening, everyone. Good evening, physicians. Welcome to a private live Biocen Fat Grafting and Micrografting webinar. I am Koray Kaplan. We have a special treat for all of you this evening. So here's the agenda. So I'd like to give you the agenda first. First 45 minutes, we have Professor Dr. Ercan Çalışkan. He's a dermatology specialist. So it's a great enthusiasm that I announced upcoming series of scientific and clinical presentations on three pioneering products of Biocen, and the AMT Autologous Micrografting Kit, that Biocen Fat Grafting Kit, and the PRF Exomine. Then after this presentation, we will have a Q&A session with Professor. So it's going to be like a 15 minutes with everybody, with all UK physicians. And what I would like, or we would like you to do, is there is a Q&A box in your toolbar, okay, in the bottom. So during the presentation, you can ask your questions, and then we will address those questions when the time allows. And especially, we'll have the questions at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to give you some information about, like a short bio about our professor. So Ercan Çalışkan is a professor of dermatology at University of Health Sciences, Gülhane Medical Faculty, Department of Dermatology in Ankara. And he has been a member of Medical Faculty Board since 2020. And Professor Çalışkan is also Chief Department of Dermatology since 2019. He's a lecturer for medical students and dermatology assistants in his faculty, and also managed many medical specialty theses for more than 12 years. He had 7 principal investigator in projects and published 57 international articles. Now even he has more. He's also a valuable international faculty member of TLAB Academy. And Professor Çalışkan conducted theoretical treatment trainings to 12 aesthetic physicians, dermatologists in Barcelona, Spain, and also gave a breathtaking scientific presentation to 14 valuable physicians on some products. And so without further ado, Professor, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Koray. Thank you for your presentation. It's a pleasure to be with you, with our guests from England. I want to talk. We have three special products to talk about. One is called AMT Autologous, which can be decided to be a follicular micrografting. And can you see Koray, can you see on your screen? Sorry.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. So now the share screen is, yeah. Now it's coming. There we go. So now we can see it.
Okay.
All right,
on 3 products. One is and not this one. Sorry. First one is AMT follicular micrografting, and the other one is fat processing device, and the third one be on PRF and a little bit on exosomes. Well, I will talk about as AMT autologous on the filters, which is being used as the microlyzers in scientific reports. And first, I want to show you the procedure. After preparation, the area back of the ear, we generally choose the hair bearing areas, and then making a sterilization, then shaving, then anesthesia with lidocaine with adrenaline lidocaine, and then harvesting the grafts with 2 mm punches. We generally take 4 to 6 from each side, so 8 to 12 2 mm punches are harvested, and then putting them into one of the syringes. And on the other side of the syringe, we have PRP, or if you don't have PRP, you can use physiologic saline solution, but I recommend you to use PRP for better results. Then making the passages in the box, we have 2 blades. One is 600 micrometers, and the other one is 150 millimeters. First, making the passages 51 times with the 600 filter as shown in the yellow, and then just once to make a filtration for the unwanted remnants, then making our injections with this device. And just a quick words on what we have in this one is we have about 12 million cells in 1 milliliter within this end product, and the nucleated cell number is very important for us, and it's over 1.5 million cells per milliliter. And another thing that we have to consider is the viability of these nucleated cells, and it's over 95% viable. Another concern is especially this device is made for hair graft, so essential markers which we need for hair graft is CD200, CD44, and cytokeratin 15. And as you can see, the laboratory results show us that all these flow stochastic analyzers show that all these three points are over 50%, so that we include most of we have the cells that we need for hair graft. And this is an important article published by Pietro Gentile, and as far as I know, this is the base for many of these kinds of products. As you can see, first he collected the samples with a 2 millimeter punch, then he cut these punches into pieces, and after a kind of process, he collected these solutions and made the injections and showed us the favorable results with this treatment. And we also could easily see our results, especially for hair treatments, as you can see after 3 months for one treatment. But what do we have within these solutions? First, I want to show you an article showing the fibroblast isolation from the hair follicles. As you can see here, the hairs are located in the dermal adipose tissue under the dermis, and to obtain a fibroblastic tissue, we have to first cut the roots of these cells, then remove the fats around these cells, and after squeezing the fats around this papilla, if we put them into culture medium, we can see that we will have many fibroblastic cultures, many fibroblastic tissues. So we can say that the cells located on the root of this area, on the root of these hair follicles, are mainly fibroblastic in nature. So this is another article that will help us to understand what we are doing with these treatments. As you can see, this is a young and an old patient's hair. During the resting phase, I mean during the telogen phase of the hair follicle, we have a pool at the papilla of the hair follicle, and this pool is supporting the hair growth on the anagen phase. But when we get older, this pool is reducing by numbers, and after a time, the amount of the volume of these cells are not enough to support our hair growth, so that we will see senescent related hair loss in human. As you can see, there are some other results with these treatments. And another things to consider is the importance of dermal white adipose tissue during our hair follicle cycle. We now, in the recent years, we have learned that these white adipose tissue is very important for us for the hair growth. And we know that all this cycle is regulated by the fats located on the root of these hair follicles. There are some other patients. So we can ask that if all these cells regulating and supporting the hair growth is fibroblastic cells, so can we use cultured fibroblasts for hair growth? Now, we know that we did not obtain good results with fibroblastic cultures because the answer to this, the answer is dependent on that. If we put fibroblasts into culture medium, they immediately transform into a 2D structure, so that they lose their molecular characteristics and they have no support for the hair growth. So we have to use them in a non-cultured way. We have to use them immediately as we do it with our product. Since they are including fibroblastic tissue, we can use them for many different indications, as we can see on hair scars, as we can see for neck rejuvenation, face rejuvenation, and we can adapt them into different conditions. As dermatologists, we are interested in other kinds of diseases, and here we can obtain not just follicular 2 millimeter pumps, but we can take split skin samples and use them for different indications. What I'm doing is taking this sheet and then cutting them into small pieces. After that, making the passages as shown with these two filters, and the obtained solution can be injected in different areas. And I've done these treatments for vitiligo. Why I prefer to use split skin sheets, because I wanted to more focus on not dermoepidermal cells, just to the melanocytes and keratinocytes. For this purpose, I prefer split skin samples, and we can use them for unhealing wounds. We can prefer to use that for the acceleration of wound healing. This is an hidradenitis suppurativa excision. We need a rapid wound healing for these patients, and to accelerate. These are the 5th day pictures. This is another patient with the same protocol, but I want to say that this I combined in this procedure the dermoepidermal cells with PRF for wound healing. So microfollicular grafting has many advantages to be used in many indications depending on your needs and on the patient's need. They can be easily processed without any device. You don't need any laboratory. You don't need any enzyme. You won't need to use trypsin or other kinds of enzymes for this one. And it can be adaptable to your needs. I mean, you can use them in different numbers. You can use smaller punches, as we did sometimes. You can take much more samples, and you can adapt them. You can combine them with different procedures. Sure, there are some things to be defined better. There are some limitations, but I think there will be a good future for these kinds of regenerative treatments. Koray, do we have questions for this subject?
Yeah, so far I don't see any questions, Professor. Your physicians, do you have any questions so far for this presentation? So you can write it down to Q&A box. So let's give a couple seconds. There's one question, Professor, and it's
so we
here.
can proceed with the fat processing device, right?
Yeah, there's one question. Who can perform this?
Who can perform this?
Yes. So like in the previous presentation, like the whole procedure.
Yeah. I think all the educated doctors can do this. We are all in our clinic. We are all making this treatment.
So like they are asking like if non-medical professionals, can they do it, or just the medicals? So
well, it depends on the regulations on their country. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the regulations are.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we can continue.
Now I want to talk about fat processing device. We can divide them into two. These can be one adipomine and the other can be called SVF. The regenerative sources in our clinical practice are mainly depending on the skin, as I previously expressed. The other one is fat, and the last one can be peripheral blood. I mean, when we say blood, we can say that PRP, PRF, and exosomes can be obtained with peripheral blood. So what we do with fat as the regenerative treatment is that we have to collect the samples, we have to collect the adipose tissue, then process it in the way that we want. What we have in the adipose tissue is, as you can see, here are some adipocytes, and around them we cannot see pre-adipocytes. They are smaller cells in the nature of adipocytes, but not in big forms. And we can see the extracellular matrix, and over the extracellular matrix, sure, we will have some vascular structures, including pericytes, but mesenchymal stem cells are very important for us because these cells have many capabilities for the regeneration and for the regulation of our immune system, and they are stem cells, and they are located over the extracellular matrix. So if our purpose is to transfer adipocytes, we have to take these adipocytes in a healthy way. But if I want some regenerative effects, we have to focus to collect these mesenchymal stem cells mainly located on the extracellular matrix. So for the terminology, I want to make an explanation at the beginning of my speech. After we aspirate the adipose tissue, we generally separate these cells into smaller fragments. And these fragments are can be divided in three generally. If we have a special filter, we have a special blade for this one. If we use a 2400 micron blade. This is called microfat, and we can inject it with a 18-gauge needle or cannula. Then if we proceed to cut these cells with our blades and use a 1200 microns, this cell is, excuse me, this is something wrong, because millifat is the one with 24 microns and microfat is with 12 microns, and microfat is the one that we inject with 21G gauge needles or cannulas. If we proceed to process this material, we can obtain with 600 microns nanofat, and this can be injected through a 30 gauge needles. They are so jelly, they are so thin, so that we can inject them into the dermis, into the most superficial areas. And if you want to have a volumizing effect on the patient, we have to use millifat down to the bone. If we want to have a volumizing effect on the intermediate areas, we have to use a microfat with 21 gauge needles. But if we want to inject our fatty material, adipose tissue, to the dermis, we have to use nanofat, and we can inject them with 30 gauge needles. First, we have to make a lipoaspiration for this one and evaluate the patients, and we have to plan where to collect these samples. As you can see, this is a 14-year-old girl. This area, the inner circle, is my primary aim to collect the fat, and this is the paracentral area that I will collect the fat from here, but not more focus on here. I won't collect any fat from here, but I can use, in case I need, I can use the other areas for her body. We can use the inner or lateral thighs. We can use the gluteal region. Which area is better for the quality of this product is a question that needs to be answered in a better way. But generally it's accepted that if you use the superficial fat, it's better. If you use the inner thigh, it can be considered better, but the quality on this literature is not so high. So after planning, we have to use tumescent anesthesia. I want to talk a little bit on tumescent anesthesia. What's the importance in this one? We generally use lidocaine for this one, and the most important things that we have to consider is if the patient had any problem on his or her liver. So because lidocaine can elevate the liver enzymes, and we don't want any patient to use any interfering drugs with lidocaine. Its dose, maximal dose, is about 5 or 7 milligrams per kilogram. But as AAD, American Association of Dermatology, says that it can be up to 55 milligrams per kilograms if it is used in a tumescent solution, but just for the liposuction or lipoaspiration. Because when we do this with this purpose, we are diluting the lidocaine in the tumescent solution. With adrenaline means that after the vasoconstriction, it's not penetrating, it's slowly penetrating to the systemic circulation, and we after the anesthesia occurs, we aspirate most of the volume that we have given to the patient. So that's important. And I want to give an example on the dosage of the lidocaine. If the patient is about 70 kilograms, it means that depending on this formulation, we can give this patient about 4 liters of tumescent solution. But if we are talking about fat transfer or with fat transfer or making an SVF, we generally can pass through it's about maximally 500 milliliters is enough for us at maximum. So what I did here is after the sterilization, then I used here an 11 blade to make an entry, then making the tumescent anesthesia. And as you can see that all these areas are whitish. It means that this area was constructed by this adrenaline solution. After giving this tumescent solution, we have to wait at least for 15 minutes. Please don't hurry in that procedure. After 15 minutes, and you will see this whitish area, it means that anesthesia has occurred, and then making the lipoaspiration with our cannulas, then waiting for 10 minutes for the decantation. Here we can see the tumescent solution. Then we are making some, and we can see on the upper layer, we can see our fat. Then we start to process our adipose tissue. For fat grafting, as I previously expressed, for millifat, we have to make a passage with at least for 5 or 11 times, depending on the patient, with these 2400 micron blades. And if we want a microfat to use for the patient, then we have to use this. After 2400, we have to use 1200 micron microlyzer, and this is also for 5 to 11 passages. But if you want to use this as a nanofat, then we have to pass through the 600 blades and make these passages with 600 blades. Then we can make these injections to more superficial areas. Now I want to proceed with SVF. SVF is something different. Something different because in that manner it's much more similar to mesenchymal stem cells. In practice, they are mostly calling it stem cells. Sure they are not stem cells because we don't make any culture. We immediately process our fats and then isolating the SVF, then making our injections. If we do it with enzymatic digestion and put them into a cell culture, we call them adipose-derived stem cells. But we cannot do that enzymatic digestion because it's not allowed. You cannot use, this is for only laboratory purposes, and we cannot take our sample from our hospital or office to another building. So that we have to do this. If we are the ones to make treatments, we have to do this on mechanical way. So I want to show you how we can do it with mechanical SVF. What we have in SVF is mainly, we don't have adipose tissue. We have no volumizing effect. we mostly have extracellular matrix, mesenchymal stem cells, and pericysts within this solution. And these cells gives us, what does it give us? First, they have many secretomes. They include some exosomes, they include some secretomes, and these secretomes are the ones telling the other cells to regenerate, for vascularization, and they mostly related to wound healing. So angiogenesis and tissue reparation are the general advantages of these cells. But there is one thing. There's one thing important is we can modulate the immune system if we inject them to different diseases. We know that, and that's very important because mesenchymal, they can be used in many ways, as we do with the mesenchymal stem cells. In the market, you can see different products, different blades. First, you can decide what to use, but there are some things to be considered before choosing your product. And this is an article showing the differences between different products in the literature, but they are mostly making some digestion, centrifugation, and filtrations. Eventually, we will gain at the bottom of these cells, we will gain a 3 or 4 milliliters. Can be called SVF. Sure, everyone is saying that this is our SVF product, but we have to, what can we call an SVF? There are attempts to clearly define this, and as IFES and ISCT says that we have to, first we must have some numbers of cells. These cells have to be viable. These cells have to be healthy, and then these viable cells must show you some stem cell characteristics, and they have to show a proliferation frequency, which is called as CFU for fibroblasts, colony-forming unit for fibroblasts. And if possible, we want them to differentiate into different tissues. This is of this product. What is obtained with this product is to make a comparison with the method of choice with the enzymatic system, and P4 is the one used with microlyzer, and you can see that the nucleated cell counts and for the vitality, this enzymatic system is slightly over microlyzer, but we have to proceed. What we will see is that CD73 cells and CD90 cells are much higher with microlyzer. That's important because we want these cells to be in the stem cell nature, stem cell characteristics. And the other one is their proliferation capacity, because we want them to regenerate. We want regeneration where we inject it, where we put them. So we have to see the most important thing is their proliferation capacity, and there's no difference within these cells, slightly in the favor of microlyzer. And in this article, they showed that if we put them into the cell medium, these cells of SVF are differentiated into bone, cartilage, and adipose tissue, so that we know that the end product we gain with this system is of high quality. And there are many indications, there are many articles, studies done with this treatment with SVF. As you can see, to summarize, collecting the samples, collecting the adipose tissue, then we have a processing it, and with the 2400 blades, then 1200 blades, then 600 blades, and then making a centrifuge. And you can see at the bottom of this one, you can see 4 milliliters of SVF, and we can use them in different indications. This is one of my first patients we used for wound healing with this hereditary spherosis related unhealing wounds. This is another case that I did this treatment after 1 month of a trauma. We decided to use a SVF enriched nanofat for this lady, and this result is after 3 months. I can easily say that this result will be better in 1 year. The healing effect will go on. We can combine them for nanofat grafting for their to improve their efficiency for scars, for hair growth, and as we can see, I've used this treatment with nanofat grafting and SVF combination for morphea as en coupe de sabre, as it's called, as a kind of localized scleroderma. Sure, we need some improvements, we need some refinements for these treatments, for these patients. Thank you.
Well, very nice results. Okay, there was one question from the previous presentation, so let me ask that question. It's a good question. It's an anonymous attendee. So, Professor, he or she is saying, if we got a scar or wound, do we need to inject PRP on it or around it?
That's a good question. It's not enough just to make an injection inside the scar, because there are different kinds of scars. I think they are asking this question for atrophic scars. First, you have to make your treatments in the wound, in the scar, but the regeneration effect will come from the surrounding tissue, so that I generally make our treatments in and around the scar. But sure, there are some differences in different types of scars. As we are talking about the one in the first session, the example that I used was not done just only with dermamine, because you cannot obtain such a solution just making an injection, because you have to make a subcision, then you have to inject to the whole area, and especially to the depressed area.
Right, thank you. Let me see if any other questions. Any questions, please use the Q&A box next to the chat. And I don't see any other questions, so we can continue, Professor. Thank you.
So I will make a quick presentation on PRF and a little bit exosomes. Well, the third part is, I won't talk about PRP, PRF. Many call it second generation PRP. It's not a new treatment, but in the recent years, it has become more popular because of some benefits. And what's the main difference between PRP and PRF is that we don't have anything, any anticoagulant within the tube that we are using it. And the we are using G-force is different with this one, and we can generally PRF can be divided mainly into two different products. One is injectable PRF and the other one is PRF gel. The main difference PRP and PRF is, especially in structure, is the three-dimensional structure of PRF. It's acting like a scaffold for the injected areas because it's a kind of it's fibrin, so that it has a three-dimensional structure. But for PRP, it's just a liquid, so it has no shape. It cannot be considered as a scaffold. This is the main difference. And the other one is depending on its ingredient. There's no difference in their ingredients, but the release of the releasing time is different, because if we are using PRF, these secretomes released from the PRF is on a slower rate but longer duration, and it may be helpful in some cases. And the other one that we have to decide when to choose PRP and when to choose PRF is on your clinical practice, because you can prepare a PRP and it never coagulates. But if you are using PRF, you have to use it within 5, maximum 10 minutes, because you cannot inject after 5 or 10 minutes. So there's huge numbers in the PubMed articles with PRF, and as you can see, most of the articles are coming from dentistry on PRF because they are mostly using them. And as you can see, the TGF-beta, PDGF are released on the first 1 to 3 days for PRP, but the release is going on for PRF for 7 to 10 days. This is one of the main differences between them, and they are being used in many wound healing indications. As you can see, this is called PRF gel. You can put it over the wounds. You can combine it with different products like dermoepidermal suspension, or I prefer them as if I don't have any SVF and make a fat transfer. I combine it with not PRP but PRF. I prefer to use PRF. And there are some articles showing the favorable results with nasolabial folds, and these articles says that for the fibroblast cell migration, proliferation, and collagen synthesis, PRF can be over PRP. And here it shows some good results to enhance the outcomes of fat grafting in combination with fat grafting. And sure, it's being used for hair treatments, but I can say that other treatments showed us that it's not over PRP. They are similar in the eventual consequence. These are some of our patients. And here another morphea, as we are interested in. This 9-year-old patient, I injected first PRF to soften the tissue because I wanted to make fat transfer to this patient with SPF, enriched fat transfer. But first I have to prepare the wound bed to vascularize it. So it's helpful to prepare this area to soften the tissue. Picture is not good. And a quick word on extracellular vesicles. We have extracellular vesicles have many capability for antimicrobial activities. They are mostly related to regenerative, and they are mostly focused on this effect. They lead to angiogenesis. They have anti-tumor effects, antioxidative stress, and all these are related to secretomes. We generally divide them into three depending on their sizes. Exosomes are the important ones for us, and they are about 100 nanometers. Microvesicles are over 100, and apoptotic bodies are over 1000 nanometers, and they lead us. They are important in the communication between these cells, because the same cell can do different duties. They can act in different ways. So they include microRNAs, mRNA, DNA, lipids, metabolism, many surface cell proteins within them. They are the cargo of these cells, and we can make an example, like they are the words that I am telling to you. They are the words that we are talking to each other, and we can an extracellular vesicle or an exosome can act in different ways, but the most important thing is the ingredients within it and the parental cells, because the only thing they can do is related to their parental cells. They cannot do anything different from their parents. I am mostly interested in dermatological indications, but the demands force us for aesthetic indications. As you can see, this is an article we've written this 2 years ago. For cosmetic indications, for rejuvenation, anti-aging, hyperpigmentation, vitiligo, scar, and hair loss treatments can be done, but these are not. There's not enough proof for these treatments. We have to move on. We have to see what we have with this treatment, and one of the way that we can do exosome is using the treatments on cell cultures after filtration. These are adipose tissue, adipose stem cells, conditioned medium. Conditioned medium is used generally for this one. After filtration, we can gain some exosomes, and after concentration and purification, these exosome gels can be used. There are some good results done. There are many good results done with these treatments with different exosomes. But one of the important thing that I want to say is that they can act in different ways. I mean, regeneration is the main effect they give us, but we can see that as the mesenchymal stem cells are helpful for hypertrophic scars, these exosomes derived from mesenchymal stem cells can act as their parental cells. This is the most important part for us. And platelet-rich plasma-derived extracellular vesicles are a good source for us. Why? We can do this treatment on the patient, an autologous treatment. We don't need any other thing, any other plant, any other human or different thing. So we don't have any problem with these treatments. And this is, as you can see here, this is the product that we are using with Exomine. We are collecting the samples in PRP, 4 PRP tubes, then put them in one injector. Then again, we are using microlyzer 600 for 51 times. Then this is a patented tube, putting them into these tubes. Then there are several steps for centrifuge. It's about taking 30 minutes. And after this one, we are collecting the upper 2.5 milliliters of exosomes. And we know that we have too many billions of exosomes, and these exosomes are derived from thrombocytes without including from erythrocytes, without including from leukocytes. And we know their characteristics, we know their efficiency in the laboratory, and we started to use them in our practice, but we still need time to show our results with the patients. Thank you. Yes,
all right. All right, very good. Very good presentation. Thank you, Professor. So now let's go to the Q&A section of this webinar. So I have 2 questions, and both are coming from Shireen Ali, I believe, doctor. So here's the question. Can we take fat sample from any part of the body for hair growth?
Yeah, you can take. You can
Okay,
take.
probably they're taking the fat and then getting the SVF.
But it's generally recommended to use, if you don't have any problem with it, it's generally used to use the inner thighs, but I'm collecting from the belly, lower belly.
Lower belly. Okay, thank you. The other question is, which blade size is ideal for hair restoration purposes?
Well, for hair restoration purposes, you have to use nanofasciure, because our purpose is not to volumize the fat, volumize the scalp. So you have to use, if you are if you won't use SVF, you have to use nanofats. So you have to collect the samples, then make the whole procedure through 600 blades.
Okay, very good. And this was the last question. I have a question, Professor. I was wondering, can we use cryotherapy with PRP? Can we combine cryotherapy with PRP for sunspots?
Sorry. Cryotherapy, to combine cryotherapy with PRP.
PRP, yes, for the sunspots, like on the face.
Well, your purpose is to regenerate the skin after cryotherapy.
I mean, to get rid of the sunspot. So let's say you have a sunspot on your face, and then you're using cryotherapy and PRP at the same time to get rid of it.
Well, I couldn't get the main idea, but sure, there's no problem with it. After the treatment with cryotherapy, then you can use anything you want. You can use PRP.
Okay, thank you. Now I have 2 more questions here. Okay, it's coming from Ayana Maria. Hi, nurse injector here. Is this available to watch later since I missed the first? Okay. Also, where is the training available UK for fat grafting? Are you providing that? So the first part of the question, yes, right now we are recording this, and then I will be giving this to Biocen. Okay. And then we will have hands-on trainings in the future in UK for fat grafting. Okay. And then you can have get information from Biocen on that. Okay. All right. So that's that. And other question: what settings do you recommend for PRP and PRF? What settings?
What is?
What settings, the IR'lar, what settings do you use PRP and PRF?
Well, 1,150 for PRP, 1,500 for PRF.
Okay. Another question is,
True G-force, not RPM.
Yes. Okay. So 1150G. And can you share protocol for hair nanofat with PRP?
Nanofat with PRP.
Yes, the protocol.
Well, if I'm making a nanofat grafting for hair treatment, I do not need to make any PRP treatment because it's much more effective than PRP. But if I want to clarify something. If I want to combine them, I can combine PRP with fat grafting, sure, but if I'm making a volumizing treatment, I have to combine it. But for just regenerative effect, as we want for hair treatments, I do not need any PRP treatment. If you have ability to make nanofat grafting, nanofat transfer, then you have all regenerative effects, so you don't need PRP. But you can combine it. That's your choice.
All right. Another good question. How many sessions do you require for nanofat for hair restoration?
Well, first of all, if you are making a nanofat treatment for hair restoration, first do it, then evaluate the patient after 6 months. Because the results will be more permanent after 3 months.
Okay, and then the second part of the question is, what interval in between each sessions? And you answer that questions. I mean, the interval.
At least 6 months.
6 months. Okay. Another question is about the settings. How long do you spin each for PRP and PRF? So
yeah,
we
I
said
think we've answered it.
Yeah, but they're also asking like the minutes. So 1150 times 4 minutes. Okay, and then for the PRF, what is your
1,500.
Okay, and then the timing for that 4 minutes again?
4 minutes. 4 minutes. But
so
for gel, for 8 minutes.
For gel for 8 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Very good. Let's see. Okay, we answered all the questions. Okay, dear physicians, any other questions you have? Please use the Q&A box. And then there is one question from Amy. For anti-aging rejuvenation treatments, do you have IPRF coating on the IPRF tube? Injectable PRF, IPRF.
IPRF and?
And IPRF coating on IPRF tube. What's that?
Anlayamadım tam.
Bir daha okuyayım hocam. For anti-aging rejuvenation treatments için, do you have an IPRF, injectable PRF coating diyor. Üzerindeki tabaka. On the IPRF tube. IPRF coating.
For anti-aging rejuvenation treatments, do you have an IPRF coating on the IPRF tube?
Do they mean gel, or we don't have gels?
No, sure. If you are making an IPRF, it means that there's no gel.
Yeah. Okay. Because we don't have gel in our tubes. Another question is, when will you start training in the UK? So you can get the answer from Biocen on that, Shirin. And Amy says, okay, thanks.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, any more questions? Come on, this is a great opportunity. You have the professor here. Ask away. UK.
Okay.
All right. So there's one question. Do you test the PRP before using it?
No.
Because I have heard apparently there is a good and bad PRP. Testing the
all these, that's why we are making some experiments. That's why we are going to, on INCAS, we are going to some challenges showing the quality of the product. That's why we are using the same products and centrifuge. So we are not making it. If they are, if they want to be sure, they can make these treatments at the beginning of their treatments, sure.
Okay, very good. And then that's the last question. Right now the timing is 10. So we started on time and then we're ending on time. And let me give like 10 more seconds for any other questions. Any questions? All right. Okay. Any final remarks, Professor?
No, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Very good. Excellent presentations. Thank you so much on the scientific side, clinical side, and a great before and after photos. And
it was a quick summary, but I hope everything's okay with the audience.
I think it was great. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Thank you for taking time and being with us 10 p.m. at night in Turkey, Ankara, Turkey. Please accept our heartfelt thanks from our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.